Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V, where we are intentional about connecting you with entrepreneurs who have overcome and want to provide value to the audience. It's Dr. V here, where our coaching program teaches nurses to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money and owning their own time. So our featured guest today is Tammy Marshall. And so Tammy, I heard her probably for the first time. We probably had talked to each other previously, but really heard you on Clubhouse that one night. And when I heard you on Clubhouse, I was like, this chick right here, she got something special. So tell us a little bit about you. So tell us who you are, what do you do with that whole thing?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. V, for those kind words. So like you said, my name is Tammy Marshall. I am really animated. That's just what I like to do. I have been in the nursing field for almost 2 decades, started as a certified nursing assistant while going to the Aloysius University of Florida. Go Gators! And then I graduated with my bachelor's in sociology and minored in chem. And then I went ahead and went back to school and was part of the inaugural cohort of WGU. In Florida, where I got my BSN, and then I went ahead and got my master's in South University. I like to travel. I love food. Like my husband and I, at one point, we went all the way to the East Coast on a drive, and we just ate at these random places, and it was a delicious time. I have 2 children, a boy and a girl, and a dog named Jack, who we called him Old Man Jack. He's quite ornery in his older age, but I love him nonetheless. So I am a family person. I now also own Lumen Diagnostic Services and its subsidiaries, L'Allure Health and Wellness and L'Allure Academy. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
I love it. So now tell us, we were talking just before we came on camera about your grand opening. So
yes.
Your grand opening is when?
My grand opening is March 11th. It's going to be in DeSoto. We are doing half off of some of our shots in our shot bar. Woohoo! So shots will be served. Hey!
So shots in the shot bar. All right.
Shots at the shot bar.
Tell me about that.
All right. Shots at the shot bar are B12. We have glutathione. We have a calm injection. All of these special blends that have been curated from one of my local compounding pharmacies in the area. So I'm excited to bring those services to you. One of our gimmicky things, for lack of a better word, are CBD shots, actual injections. So a lot of people take the CBD gummies, but the CBD shots actually work amazing with long-term management of like pain, depression, and stuff of that nature. So come check us out. You might be able to get a 50% off on that one. That one's our bigger one, so I might not be able to do 50 on that one, but I got 50 on that B12 for your energy.
Sweet. I love it. So now the CBD shots, we know what that is. B12 is for energy. What are the other shots for?
So the calm is like to also help with, feeling like tired or stuff like that. We also have the energy. We have a Myers cocktail with a little twist to it for our high performers in terms of people who are working out or have playing sports or stuff like that. We have just regular hydration, with a just normal saline bag. Our immune boost is filled with zinc and glutathione, lots of vitamin C. So there's just a few of the options that we have at our shots bar and our drip bar that will be premiering at our grand opening March 11th at noon. It's going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony. The Chamber of Commerce is going to be there along with my parents. So,
So now you own IV hydration. Is that correct?
Yeah, so my clinic is kind of an all type of everything hodgepodge of what I felt like the community needed. So it offers IV hydration. We're like one of the only ones that do that in DeSoto. We also have, like I said, the shots bar where we actually do B12, lipo shots to help eat up some of the fat. We also do a Clibella type of injection as well that I can target in fatty areas. And it actually helps to shrink that area. So all kinds of fancy stuff. We also do the run-of-the-mill DOT physicals. We do to keep our drivers safe on the roads. We also do STI testing, which has been popular since we've all been locked in the house for the past 2 years, but we're not going to go all the way there right now this morning. But we also do pap smears.
Explain to the people who are layman what STI is.
Okay, so STI is a sexually transmitted infection. What I've been seeing in my personal practice is that it's been going up. We've been having a lot more since the pandemic, I'm assuming. They said about assumptions. I haven't done actual statistical research and data gathering, but what I've been seeing in my professional and personal practice is that we got some stuff going on. Lots of gonorrhea, lots of chlamydia. So be careful. Get tested before you jump in the sack. I know quarantine can be long for 10 days, but just get tested, I guess, to make sure that you guys are safe.
In more ways than one, right?
In more ways than one. It's not just about COVID. We still got the other critters running around, too.
So when you were on Clubhouse, you were talking about community outreach.
Yes.
So tell me why that's important to you.
So why that's important, I feel like with the age of social media and influencers, we look at likes, right? As in terms of how is my outreach into the world. And I want to tell you that I just got an Instagram probably last month. It didn't take an Instagram page full of thousands of likes for me to be impactful in the community in which I serve. So we have all been given an assignment. We all can be change agents, and there's not going to be anybody else like you. So therefore, the role that you have in this world, the life that God has given you, was curated and able to be done perfectly by you. So you may think, oh, well, I need to reach 1,000 people. I don't have that many people on my Instagram. You can be the change that you want to see in the world. I mean, yeah, when you look at it a bigger picture, being that change that you would like to see seems overwhelming and daunting. But if you start with you, which you are the change agent, you can make wonderful things happen. I'm not from Texas. I had really no networking skills, no social life per se. When I moved to Texas, I was big and pregnant with my first daughter. And I didn't really do much. And then after that, I was working full time. My life was pretty limited in terms of outward sociability things. I worked in a company that I was pretty much all by myself. So I didn't have the impact that I thought I did, right? But when God gives you that vision, the people will come. He says, build it, they will come, right? And so when the vision came to me that this is what I was supposed to do, the people came with it. And so I'm just letting you know that people are listening to you. People are watching you. Just like they say, children, watch you and kind of mimic what you do. It's not just the children that you have an effect on. You have an effect on other adults too. So whether you realize it or not, you do have a level of influence in the community in which you serve.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you told a story about this, if I remember correctly, this couple or this lady that was so very thankful. Do you remember that story?
There's so many of them that have been so very thankful, but I think the story that you're referencing was the couple that did not speak any English, and when they received their vaccine, it was back in May of last year. The amount of gratitude was palpable regardless of language. I do speak some Spanish as well. But the feeling and the emotional experience that I received blessed me. I was able to bless them because I gave them a service that they needed to keep them safe throughout this pandemic. But they also gave me something in return. So, our emotions, the way we interact with people is an energy exchange, right? And so I extended energy when I gave the vaccine out of the the goodness of my heart and stuff like that. So when you're a caregiver, when you're in healthcare, there's an energy exchange, and sometimes our patients are not in the capacity to refill that energy deficit that's created when you give, right? And so that's what's been happening in this pandemic. There's been a deficit of the energy reciprocation. But anyways, that's another topic. But when I was talking to them, and in the Spanish that I knew, like I said, it was palpable. He got out that car, he stripped off that shirt, he was ready. And I'm like, no, just sit down. I'm coming to you. Just, un momento, por favor, un momento. But he was so excited. They both were. And so when I vaccinated, he was just, oh, gracias. And I'm getting goosebumps now. It was a surreal experience, and it let me know that little old Tammy did indeed have an impact in the community in which I was serving. And it further furnace the fire within me, because that happened very early in my business, to provide top-notch care regardless of your ability to pay. You will have a concierge, top-notch, 5-star experience.
I love it. So now, what made you want to go into business for yourself? What was that?
I was frustrated. I was absolutely frustrated. I am a good worker. I am a hard worker. I will go above and beyond in whatever job or career or business venture that I need to do. One of the things, I was with that company for 7 years, and in the beginning of my journey there, I was fulfilled emotionally. I was just fulfilled. This was exactly where I needed to be. I felt like I had an impact in the community in which I was serving. Things started to change when management styles changed, as it often does in larger corporations, and my visions no longer aligned with the new company. And what I mean by that, you have to decide what you're okay with. And when it starts to infringe upon your personal core values, the things that make you uniquely you, that's a problem. And so I started feeling like I wasn't being impactful in the community I was serving. I was still doing my job. I was still seeing a lot of patients. But what I was required to do on paper for that particular employer, I did not agree with. I felt like we could do more. And so I started complaining a lot. I complain a little bit, but it did get a little fancy. And my husband told me, like, what do you want to do? Like, what is it? And I said, I just want to help people. And from there, I became more self-aware in my abilities and what I needed to do to impact the community in which I live. And I decided at that moment that I made a conscious effort that the change that I want to see begins with me. So the way that I run my business, the way that I interact with my community is tailored to what I would like to see in my community, right? Fair communication, culturally appropriate communication, top-notch facilities, clean facilities, goodie bags, affordable services, actual explanation of what's happening to you so that we get buy-in into what's happening in your body, right? It's a partnership, me and my patients. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. But if that's the issue, then we cannot work together, because at the end of the day, we have to be a well-oiled machine, a partnership, me and the patient, me and other colleagues. We have to work cohesively, because if you're hiding little information that you think that I really don't need to know, it could change the trajectory of my diagnosis. So that's what kind of got me to this point of my business and the community in which I serve.
I think it's interesting that, you're talking about how the vision of where you were going did not align. And I think what happens a lot of times in nursing is that we get pigeonholed into that this is the only way to serve our community. Right. This is the one way that we are to serve our community, when that's not the only way. Right. We need to be very intentional about the fact there were certain things that I felt like in my own organization that I didn't align with, right. And I, of course I could go into it, but I won't. But the deal is that when it does not align, and one of my friends told me that she said during the pandemic, and she probably took about 2 to 3 months off. Mm-hmm. And the reason why she took that time off was because she was an exec, at this particular organization. And she said that she was told to tell her staff to do some things that she did not feel was appropriate. Right. And so she had to come out of that organization, and she had to heal herself. Right. In order to, forgive herself for those things, right? For those things that were not appropriate. Right. And at the end of the day, we go to school to take care of patients. People, yeah. Yeah. We want to make sure that they are taken care of in the most efficient way. Yes. And when that does not align with you, then it's a game changer. I remember talking to a COO, and I said, what I said was, we're going to start working on the back end of this thing. But then after a while, we're going to start working on the front end of this thing to stop people from coming to the hospital. Not that we don't want them in the hospital, but when they come to the hospital, that means that they're sick. Okay.
Right.
And what he said to me was, we don't want to stop them from coming to the hospital. And that's when I knew, we got to, this is not about to be good for us.
Right.
So now tell us a little bit more about your community outreach. Tell us some of the perils of going into business for yourself.
Right. So going into business by yourself, for me, I didn't have a template of what that looked like. So I'm one of the first ones to do medical stuff and make it into a business venture. So, with medical, there's a lot of red tape and stuff like that. And I am a by the books type of person. And so when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do a little COVID testing. That's it. But when you have children, they start to morph and be something more. That's the same thing my business did. So as my business started to grow, I started to grow with it. And so that required me to have many hats. As nurses, we have a lot of hats too. But I had to add probably about 10 other racks. But now I'm also a biller part-time. I am the custodial. I am HR. I am the bookkeeper. I have to know a little bit about a lot. My husband helps out with the tech stuff. He is also my co-owner of the company, but he is instrumental in that tech realm because my brain does not work in that capacity. But along the lines of what you were saying as well, management of other people was also, it wasn't hard for me, but knowing that it's my company, right? My name. So when things aren't done correctly, it's that employee. But the longer issue is it's my legacy, right? I follow the leadership style that I will never ask any of my employees, my friends, my family members to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. I feel like in leadership, when you get to the point that you are delegating tasks to be done, if you're not willing to do it yourself, then it does not need to be done at all. Because that's not good leadership, right? You don't want to ever make someone do something that you would never do yourself. So just a little caveat there, but throughout all of that, woes and experiences and growths, we have become very successful. By nature, I'm the firstborn. You know about firstborns.
I'm the baby.
You're the baby. Okay. Well, we boss the baby. Actually, let me take that back. My baby sister is a boss baby. She's really a boss baby. She's like me, but she's taller than me. So I won't say little me because she's physically not, but she is like a boss me. So I am quite bossy growing up. That's what the words were about me. So I delegated quite often. We'll use that, right? I like to delegate when I was little. You sit there, you go over here, and I'll sit here. So I learned that muscle very early on. So it wasn't difficult. It was just weird to do it for my own company. Like I have the ability to fire someone at this point, which I've never had to do before, or I haven't had to do it yet, but it's just a different type of feel when it's yours and it's your own. And the reviews are not just about me personally, but it's about my brand that I'm building and the legacy I'm creating.
Yeah, I love that. And you really have to be intentional about that brand building. You have to be intentional about how you show up. And I tell my clients all the time, it's, you show up regardless of where you are at.
Yes.
You show up as you.
Yes.
And so, you never know that you could be in the supermarket and you could tell someone about your brand and whether you're acting good or bad, okay?
Right.
That's how it's going to be portrayed. And so you have to understand that you want to make sure that every single solitary time that you're showing up and not, perfect, because I think a lot of times people say, well, I want to do this perfect, because I'm like, look, I'm not going to be perfect.
Right.
I mean, the Lord didn't make me perfect. I'm sorry.
Right. Agreed.
I'm going to show up as good as I can in the moment.
Right. Consistency. Yeah.
exactly, all the time. So I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So now, what do you see your company going?
I see us going global. I do. The vision that I have and the way that it's been playing out, it's actually quite bigger than me. I did not realize it was this big. It's almost like in the beginning, all I saw was the tip of the iceberg. I did not know it was just the tip of the iceberg, and there was so much underneath. It's massive, and I'm still excavating it, and I'm still understanding it, and I'm still curating it. So, but it's definitely bigger than me. I hope to be either a franchise. I hope to be able to be a brand in regards to related to health and wellness and just promoting community and like community and fellowship within that community, breaking down the literacy barriers in regards to receiving care, breaking down the barriers in regards to access of care, being an advocate for Black women when it comes to childbirth. There's so many things that happen in that area. Being an advocate for people who may not be able to afford concierge care, but being able to service them in their homes and provide this 5-star experience with people who literally do care about you and want to hear what you have to say. And it's not just about the ailment or the disease process in that moment, but it's the whole picture of who you are. So that's what the goal, the global goal and initiative is, to bring that type of awareness, fellowship, sisterhood, brotherhood, just unity in regards when it comes to healthcare and be heard. I think that's the thing that I'm realizing is that a lot of people are not heard. They have a lot of issues, and because of those issues and those shared experiences are not vocalized, they go unnoticed, and the same problems still exist. I'm sure, Dr. V, you can attest to those wonderful root cause analysis that you have to do in school, right? We're not being able to do a thorough root cause analysis on how we got to these disparities within our communities, in regards to blood pressure, dialysis, amputations, blind, why do those disparities exist? And yes, it's access. A lot of it has to do with access. A lot of it has to do with improper education and the terminology in which we use to explain things to people. It has with cultural bias of, when you see someone coming into the doctor's office, we're conditioned to assume a certain thing is wrong with them. What I would encourage is that, us as nurses, we have burnout. And it's gotten worse since the pandemic. And sometimes we can box everyone in categories. I think as healthcare workers, in regardless, we box people in kind of categories. If it walks like a dog, it barks like a dog, it's a dog, right? And we see a template that happens all the time. And sometimes inadvertently, we assume when a patient comes in that they fit this mold and this template, and we may miss other things. So every patient that you meet, every community outreach event that you do is a different beast altogether, and we should treat it as differently as it is, regardless as if we've seen this template before.
I love that. Now, I want to touch on something that you said about African American women and pregnancy and women's health. So, I was watching a TikTok the other day, and this lady was talking about the fact that what she said was trigger warning, right? And basically what she said was she just put up the stats, right, on African American women and the death among, not only their fetuses, but them, right? And so, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on why you would think that she would say trigger warning.
It's a trigger warning because, unfortunately for us, we've all probably know someone being African American that has probably died from some kind of pregnancy-related illness, or their baby has died from some kind of pregnancy-related illness. It shouldn't be that close, but unfortunately it is. And so I think to protect our mental health, which I like, a lot of people now are putting trigger warning. So once you see that trigger warning, it's up to you to make a conscious effort if I'm going to partake and view it, or back out, you know. So I do like that approach instead of just getting dumped into all the stuff that we would necessarily don't want to be involved with. That's personally why I stay away from certain media or anything like that, because I have to protect my mental health. And sometimes it's just too much. They just continuously pour into the, you know, a lot of stuff into you. So I do appreciate that trigger warning, because I think that it's necessary to put like, hey, look, this could be a touchy subject for you. Now, when I was pregnant with my daughter, like I said, I live in Texas. Texas has the highest infant and mother mortality rate for people of color, and that was honestly quite disturbing to me. The average, last time I checked, was about 33% of women end in C-sections. That's 1 in 3. That's pretty high. Now, of course, I'm not saying that, you know, C-sections are bad or anything like that. If you need a C-section, get a C-section, you know. Do I think that sometimes they're performed a little bit more than they should? Yes. A woman's body is beautifully designed to go through childbirth, right? And we are supposed to give them 40 weeks, right? That's what they say, with a buffer of 2 extra weeks, you know. But what I often see, unfortunately, is once you get 37 weeks and that baby has not made any signs of moving, then we're trying to do things to induce that labor. And so it becomes a fight against what your body wants to do naturally in regards to what is supposed to be done. And I do feel like we kind of dress it up like, hey, yeah, you know, go ahead and get it done. You'll be out of here. And I guess we want to control the situation, but having a child is uncontrollable. The act of having a child is uncontrollable. Like, you know, when you were having those contractions, were you controlling anybody's contractions, Dr. V?
Nope, not a bit.
You were uncontrolled, right? It was uncontrolled. You just sat there like, ooh, it's coming. The baby is coming. It is an uncontrolled situation that happens with your body. Can you do more things to get a little bit more in control? Yes. Focusing on your breath, all those types of things, ujjayi, massage, meditation, whatever. Yes, you can change the narrative so it's a more of a controlled setting, but it should not be in its entirety controlled, if that makes sense to you.
Right.
So I feel like with these types of presets and having it be like a medical type of procedure, we've changed the narrative and increased the risk of having these things. Also, we're not being taken seriously when we say things. That's, I feel like, the number one thing. A lot of the deaths that I have seen in regards to infant and mother mortality rates is for one, lack of education that was given to them. So it was not explained in a culturally appropriate or educational level that was understandable. I want to say the education level or reading level, is about 5th grade. I think maybe even 2nd or 3rd grade. Honestly, I think it was going down last time I checked, but it's not very high, but we're using all this medical jargon that people don't necessarily understand. And what happens, you know, we've seen it as nurses, you're explaining something and it's a, you understand? Do you have any questions? Oh, no. But do they truly understand? And we're taught to do that teach back method. But what we've done is hyper infused a healthcare system with so many patients that have to be seen in a limited amount of time. So can I really sit down and listen to you? And when I say, do you have any other questions? Have I already checked out and gone to the next patient, or am I still engaged in that patient? And so these types of things, I do believe, elevates our risk as Black women. When I was about to have my daughter, that was one of the things that I asked is, you know, what was their C-section rate? I was looking for someone who was below the national average. So that was one. When I was shopping around, you have that right to pick who you want. The other thing that I did was ask them, you know, how long they let their ladies labor. Do you allow us to go to 42 weeks? Are you making plans and preparations to try to get the baby out at 38? You know, those were also important to me. And a Black provider was also definitely important to me. I felt like if I had someone that looked like me, they would understand the risks that come with a person that looks like me and take me seriously. One of the things that makes me sad to vocalize that I did when I was about to go in labor, like a couple of weeks before that, I got all my affairs in order. The statistics scared me, and I'm a medical professional. The statistics scared me so bad in the state of Texas that I made sure that if I died by giving labor, that I had stuff laid out. Like, you know, I made sure I had my life insurance. I got all the little lab work. Like, it was a scary situation, but I was prepared because of the statistics. And I feel like, yes, we should be prepared, but it was sad the reason why I got prepared. It was because I'm a Black woman, and the statistics for me in childbirth and adverse outcomes are extremely high.
You are absolutely amazing. And,
Thank you.
I mean, and those questions, it's interesting that I didn't have the forethought, to ask those questions. Of course, I was very early in my nursing career whenever I first had my children. And so, but having those questions and asking those questions and making sure that you're being heard is extremely important. So thank you
You're
for
welcome.
community outreach. And, don't bombard her for her grand opening, okay? But after she gets open, y'all go see her in DeSoto, Texas, right?
Yes, DeSoto, Texas, 1636 Northampton Road, Suite 104, DeSoto, Texas. If you mention this, I'll get you 50% off on any service of your choice.
You better do it. Go ahead, give them something.
CEO vibes.
We have the Nurse Recharge Summit, which Tammy will be there. She will be a speaker. So y'all show up, because I'm telling you, this girl right here, she has got it going on. It's coming up April 23rd. It's going to be completely virtual. It's going to be from the comfort. You can register from the comfort of your own home. I do believe I have a link up in the top where you can register for it. We will be learning how to recharge and how to transition into entrepreneurship if that is what you decide you want to do. So join us. I ask that you like and share this podcast. And thank you so much, Tammy, and everyone. Have a phenomenal rest of your day.